Hello and welcome to a conference championship edition of Establish the Bets. My name is Adam Levitan. As always, joined by King NFL Sharp, Matthew Davidow, on the other side of the counter to discuss the Final Four of the NFL Conference Championship. Sunday is upon us, Matt. How's it going?
Just well, Adam. Good to see you.
I feel like divisional round is a lot of people's favorite round of the playoffs because you get 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. It all lines up nicely. Conference Championship Sunday, though, in my book, has always been the day of days. What do you think about handle on conference championship versus divisional round? More, less, the same? Any other thoughts there?
Well, handle-wise, Sunday is a much better betting day. More people are around to bet than Saturday. I think a lot of times Saturday people make plans, families, people take their wives out or their girlfriends or boyfriends, and as the case may be. There's, I think, a lot of family stuff happening Saturdays, whereas Sunday is much more of a time to watch football. Also, one of the reasons the NFL has been so popular, I think, over the years is it's consistent. It doesn't occupy all of your life. Like, if you want to really follow the NBA, and I'm kind of trying to do it now a little bit, and oh my God, it's every single day.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite literally a job where you can follow the NFL. You can watch your team every week, every single play. You can see every play from your team the entire season without any major life disruption. And that's what, to me, makes the NFL so great. It's every Sunday. So I think a lot of people are already, football fans, football bettors. They're accustomed to having that Sunday thing. So I definitely think it's a Sunday thing. Although, don't sell Super Wild Card Weekend short, Adam.
Okay, fine. I won't. I hated that, but I won't. Yeah. So yeah, I totally agree. Sunday, the NFL has made Sunday into a holiday in this country where everybody knows that it's like a football day. It's just, I agree with you. It's a huge reason that it's so successful. I think the only thing from last week that I wanted to touch on, I don't know if you even saw, but like there were all these tweets and screenshots going viral of people parlaying together first touchdown scorer bets. Now, my take on first touchdown score, last touchdown score, the juice in those markets, the effective juice is so massive that it's like impossible to win. Now, maybe if you shopped across a bunch of different books, you could reduce the theoretical hold and it wouldn't be that bad. But my take is that it's bad enough taking one of those, parlaying them together. My God, man. I mean, you're asked because they're screwing you out of the juice in the original bet, and then they're screwing you again on the parlay number, right? So what do you think about all this stuff? I think somebody actually hit one, which is like some crazy thing, like $5 to win like 20K or something completely ridiculous. What's your take on parlaying together these, like, what I consider to be like total carnival clown markets?
So it's complicated. I mean, first and foremost, this is supposed to be about fun, and whichever, how am I don't feel like I'm wanting to tell somebody else what's going to, give them their best sweat. Maybe from a parlay standpoint, maybe it's they know that if they hit the first one, they won't be willing to press the confirm button on the second one, but they know they really want that sweat. To me, that's the purpose of making a parlay. Everyone's like, these like sharps are always talking about, oh, well, why parlay it? You have to hedge. You could just bet it again. But that's not, people don't want that. They want to be forced into that sweat. That's the sweat they want. They don't want to sweat $100. Who cares? They can make another $100 tomorrow. The people that are betting this, especially now that the sites get to see your bank account, make sure you can afford to lose it. So they don't want to sweat the $100. What they want to sweat is the $20,000. They want to sweat that last one. They want that. Do I hedge? Do I not hedge decision? That's the recreational part. So anyone trying to take that away, I think, is completely misaligned. Another thing I'll say about the touchdown is the touchdown scores. I don't actually think there's more effective hold than the point spread, for instance. Like every recreational, every book, every regulated, I meant to say, in America, because of left, a bunch of things. Everyone's dealing 110. Mm-hmm. Everyone's has these 5% holds on the point spreads anyway. And if you actually took the touchdown markets and broke them all down into yes, no's, and I'm sure every book's different. I haven't actually done this at too many books, but the books that have done this at, you would come up with a yes price that was close with a 5% hold. Now, the reason they're not beatable is not actually because it's like more effective hold on the one bet. Let's say, Dawson Knox was like plus 1,200 I saw on, I think, one of the viral parlays, mm-hmm. Okay? And you put a 5% hold on plus 1,200. I mean, you're going to get a no price of like what, minus 3,300, right? So that's actually the same hold per volume as you get in the point spread market. Now, why can't you beat it? It's not because of the hold. You can't beat it because it just gets a ton easier to make a two-way line the closer it gets toward 0 or 100%. The further away it gets from 50%, the easier it is to make the line. Like, I don't think there's anybody anywhere that doesn't think that Dawson Knox's actual chance of scoring the first touchdown was somewhere between 3 and 8%, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just a huge, it has to be in that percentage, right? So the reason you can't beat it is because the line is so easy to get correct. It's not actually because there's more hope.
That's interesting. I assume that the effective hold in that was like 15, 20, because I mean, when it's not a two-way market and you don't know how to do it, and someone like me does not know how to look at a market and figure out what the effective hold is, like they could just be robbing me blind. They could be robbing me for 30%. And I would have no idea because there's not a no side. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, look at it this way: plus 1,200 is what 92% break even rate, right? Approximately, right? Even if it had zero chance of happening, it's only an 8%. It's only 8% from the actual true value.
Yeah,
and it obviously had more than a 0% to happen.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd say about this is like, they're not tweeting, like the books aren't out there like releasing tickets and like promoting tickets of like really sharp people making really sharp bets. That they go out there and they promote these like first touchdown score bets, and then this week, since that stuff went viral, now everybody's going to try to parlay together first touchdown bets and try to hit it, and the books are going to win so much money. It's the market. It's not even like the books like winning money.
The books should be releasing the sharp stuff. That would be hilarious.
Right.
It would be so funny if we get to see like, somebody's bot, taking advantage of a limit mistake and completely jamming in a round robin with a bunch of props or something. I'd love to see that stuff. That'd be so funny.
Exactly. Yeah. The marketing thing is really that like the limiting and all that stuff doesn't even like bother me that much. It's the marketing that bothers me. Anyways, we have important games. We're down to the final four here. The story of the week by a mile has been Patrick Mahomes' ankle. I know you hate when injuries come in to play and it's hard to make a line that we're basically betting on how healthy is Patrick Mahomes. We saw this line get as far out to Bengals -2, -2.5 I saw a couple days ago. Then Mahomes practices in full. Tape comes out from practice. He looks fine. I always thought that, listen, man, like people are like, oh, I sprained my ankle once really bad and I couldn't do anything the next week. I mean, these people are idiots. Patrick Mahomes is not you. And you also do not have access to Patrick Mahomes' doctors, his trainers, the injection that he's going to get, presumably, right? You don't have all that stuff. You cannot compare yourself to professional athletes. And so I always thought it was a little bit overblown, the Mahomes ankle stuff. That said, mobility is a big part of his game, not just rushing for yards. I'm talking about escaping from the pocket and making these crazy plays. Will he be able to do that? It's really hard to say. So what did you think about all the line moves around Mahomes' ankle and where we're at now?
I mean, it all made sense to me based on what had come out and what, you're as a handicapper, you're putting together what we saw on Sunday, which was obviously, not convinced they weren't better off leaving Henny in the game. Mm-hmm. I think Reed wanted to leave Henny in the game, but realized that if he lost with Henny, they were never going to forgive him. I mean, he didn't put Mahomes on the one drive, made me think Mahomes wasn't actually coming back. They thought, because the thing about a high ankle sprain is a high ankle sprain. I mean, I've become much more of an orthopedic doctor doing this over the years that my friends sometimes call me Dr. Davidow. It's completely, complete joke, obviously, because I'm always pretending I know something about orthopedics, right? But my understanding is the type of ankle sprain Mahomes has actually increases the chance of a re-injury break because your ligaments, your soft tissues that are supporting that bone are torn. I mean, that's the injury. And going back to Sunday's game, when Mahomes came sprint back out and they didn't put him in, I thought they were like decided that they couldn't risk the break or whatever, and that they weren't going to put him in. And the halftime market did not really have him. Like, for the most part, I thought he was outer. Like, our inputs had him like almost all the way out, really. And then it was so interesting because he came back in. But when he came back in, he was, in my opinion, they'd have been better off with Henny. And I think that's what Reed thought too, why he didn't put him in on the drive. I think that he thought, he saw enough of him hopping around, said he can't get to the handoff on the stretch play.
Right.
So I'm expecting from a assuming I'm expecting to see a lot more shotgun. I'm expecting to see a lot more McKinnon. Talk about, I know you're on the DFS streets. I would guess that McKinnon would be the back, because getting out to that stretch play that they really need to run for Pacheco, I couldn't do it on Sunday. If I were game planning, I wouldn't do that. I would call a hell of a lot of screens, short throws, things where he doesn't have to buy any time, less downfield stuff. And, so I would kind of assume that's the game plan for this week, is where the line could be. If he'd have been healthy and the data looked good, I think this line would have been 4.5. Like, the Bengals were impressive, but it was a weird game plan in a weird weather. I know we're supposed to talk about the Bengals offensive line too, and I just kind of cut right into that. I don't, I said on last week's show that, they were injuries, but the guys that were hurt weren't very good. So it wasn't like, not like they're about to put me in there at tackle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a great game plan. I mean, fantastic offensive, coaching. 79, I don't even know. I guess I could have looked before the show. I forget his name. Was fantastic. He was the fill-in tackle for Tunsil, I believe. Or, I mean, they both tackles were out.
For Collins, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was confused. It's funny. I always confuse Collins with Tunsil going back to the draft, because you remember. It wasn't Tunsil. I get them all confused. All the Mississippi and LSU. Those SEC linemen, they all run together for me.
So you think 4.5? That surprises me a little bit, because I actually think that from a talent perspective, outside of offensive line and quarterback play, assuming Mahomes is 100%, the Bengals might have more talent. I mean, the Bengals have a ton of good players. I think that the Chiefs' offensive weaponry is not good. They have major problems in the secondary, I think, and the Bengals just seem to be like I would have made it Chiefs like 3.5. I think
you might be right. I mean, remember 3.5 to 4.5 is like 2%.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think either one. I mean, the line could have bounced between 3.5 and 4.5. And if you told me it was going to be 3, I mean, that could go for that too. The Bills were definitely better in the market than the Bengals. The Bengals were definitely impressive, although I kind of chalk a lot of it up to unrepeatable type things. The snow on the field, like in my mind, the Bengals had better footing for whatever reason, just watching the game. And I don't think it's because all of a sudden they had more skilled linemen. I think they just kind of got lucky with either the shoes or, something. It was that was one of the strangest football games I think I've ever seen.
It was.
The Bengals offensive line just steamrolling the Bills defense with the guys they had out there.
It was for sure. And just to bring back the point on the offensive line, I thought the offensive line stuff went too far. In other words, people were double counting. Like, it was already baked into the market. Just like, I think there's an edge in offensive line stuff, and we've talked about it a lot. There's an edge in offensive line stuff, but when you go to the bar and everybody's talking about the Bengals 3 offensive linemen hurt, then it's like, oh, well, now it's beyond the market. Like, we saw the line get out to 6, and I think a lot of that was just offensive line stuff. And now it's like, now nobody's even thinking about it. They're like, oh, yeah, whatever. Offensive line doesn't matter. Now they're playing the Chiefs, doesn't matter. And I actually think the Chiefs pass rush is significantly better than the Bills pass rush. So yeah, really, really interesting game here for sure. Where do you think the line's going to go? I know all it takes is like one more Mahomes video of looking good for make the line go up.
I think it's going to close almost 3.
You know, close 3.
I don't think anyone's going to, from what's out there, going to. The people more advanced enough to bet on the Bengals at a bad price because they think Mahomes is hurt and can't play. I think that's like an earlier, sharper, larger money. I can't imagine. I mean, this is not my specialty, but I just can't imagine your degenerate poker player waking up Sunday morning and saying, "You know what, my large bet's going down today on those Bengals." I just don't. I think at the end of the day, the Chiefs are going to be everybody's side, and it's going to be a major public play, and that'll drive it up and let someone comes in on the Bengals.
Interesting. That wasn't my thought. My thought is that there's so much recency bias. The Bengals played so well last week. Mahomes looked so bad that like people are going to wake up Sunday and be like, "Oh, Bengals getting points? Yeah, let me get some of that." So I don't know. Interesting two-way game. I think
you don't have me here to guess what other people are going to bet on that. Sure.
All right, the other game. I was shocked by this opener, not because of last week. It's not recency bias off last week. To me, the Eagles have been the best team when healthy all year from an offensive line perspective, from a defensive line perspective, from offensive efficiency, running the ball and throwing it, and also perimeter corner. I mean, they have been the best team. And so for this line to open 1.5 against the 49ers, I thought was insulting to an Eagles team, which has been the best all year. I thought it was a stone cold 3, like no doubt. Eagles -3. That's what I thought. Now, I have a ton of respect for the 49ers also. I know they didn't play their best game against Dallas, but they're also dealing with some injuries. CMC appears to be a bit banged up here. You saw him like massaging his calf on the sideline last week. I assume you thought the market was or is right, or what'd you make this game, and what do you think about the line here? Right now, we're sitting at Eagles, mostly 2.5s out there.
So one of the sharper bookmakers I know, late in the Eagle, he typed to me. He said, "Is San Francisco going to be 3? Watching San Francisco roll over Dallas." And I was thinking, like you, I was thinking, no, Philadelphia, 55, 56%, right around that, 2.5, under 3 type, where it is now. This is where I thought it was going to be. But I think that perception is one reason it started where it started. And then on top of that, if we go back in time and Hurts doesn't get hurt and Lane Johnson doesn't get hurt and they don't lose, and the Eagles just keep rolling the way they were rolling, I think this line is 3, maybe 3.5, because like you said, the Eagles were like clearly best. However, that's not what happened. Hurts got hurt. Yeah, he came back. He played okay last week. A lot of people are saying, oh, the Eagles are back last week because I saw the score, right? But there really weren't that many impressive plays by the Eagles. They got lucky in a couple of run calls versus spots where the Giants were down a man for sure. And then on top of that, every break went against the Giants. Every break in each direction, next thing you know, it was 28-0. There just didn't any plays in the games. I wasn't that impressed with the Eagles last week, particularly compared to the score. And I think that's what's kind of, keeping it down. That being said, we've seen sharp -2.5. We've seen sharp +3. This line's going nowhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't talked to anyone who likes the 49ers. It seems like everybody I know is like, oh yeah, Eagles. It sounds like maybe you've seen some money on 49ers, though, so you think this line's going to hold 2.5?
Yeah, there's definitely money on 49ers at 3. There'll be plenty and plenty more. There'll be no limit to the money that'll come if you get about, like I said, about 56% as an actual bet on the Niners. So like +3, -10, in the +130-ish range. I think there'll be no limit to the money that'll come with that. That'll be willing. There's people willing to bet money at that point that it'll be. I don't think the line can get past there.
Do you think any of the West Coast, East Coast stuff even matters in a big game like this? Like 49ers going to be ready to play, and I know the game is later. It doesn't start until 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern, and I know Eagles. I still think Eagles have one of the better home field advantages in the NFL. If you think that stuff matters, but yeah, what do you think about home field and West East, and does that matter in a game as big as this?
Sure. I definitely think that the West East. I don't think the playoffs would matter for that unless they travel earlier, but I don't think they did.
Yeah.
But the game, like you said, is at 3 o'clock. So who cares?
Yeah.
Like 3 o'clock versus 1 o'clock is, I think, a pretty big. I don't think there's a lot to the 1 o'clock stuff. I think we as West Coasters, well, you're now a honorary West Coaster, I guess.
Yes.
But we as West Coasters get used to this. Oh my God, the game's at 10 a.m. The game's not at 10 a.m. The game's at 1 p.m.
Right. I love the time zone here for sports, man.
Yeah.
So it's been one of the best things since I moved here is like NBA starts at 5, the NFL starts at 11. It's great. Anyways, no one cares. All right. Final 4 will be this Sunday. Big game, big action. I presume I will actually be in Vegas for these games. Gonna be able to go to the counter, test my limits at the counter. We know what the limits are on the apps. They're not much. Let's see what the limits are at the counter Sunday. I will report back.
Well, you're going to be at Circa too. And Circa really, especially on the major markets, they really will take anything.
Yeah, I might take a ride around town though and see what I can get on some props. So
right. Yeah, that'll be trickier.
Yeah.
Being there in person won't help for what it's worth.
I'm just gonna wear when I want to bet on a prop. Let's say I want to take a Joe Mixon over. I put on my Joe Mixon jersey. I put on my face paint like I'm a Bengals fan. I go up to the counter. I'm like, oh, I'm a huge Joe Mixon fan. Let me get 5,000 on Joe Mixon over rush yards in this game. And they'll say he's just a Bengals fan.
Well, I will explain that to you. You're gonna in that sports book, you are going to see about 100 other Bengals fans. And they're all going to go to the counter. They're going to bet Mixon over. There's going to be one difference. They're all going to bet $100, and you're about to bet $5,000. So this is like, in my mind, this is like when the you're casting for the show, right? And you get everything just right. You get the look just right. You really nailed this part for what everybody wants to see. And then the person opens their mouth, the actor opens their mouth, and they can't actually say the line. That's going to be you. You're going to crush this thing right up until you have to actually say the line. And your line is, let me get $5,000 on, like you said, Mixon over care. And then at that point, the gig is going to be up.
The gig is going to be up. Well, I'll report back and let you know. We'll do one more show. We have to do a Super Bowl show. It is a Super Bowl after all, America's betting holiday. So we'll do one more show in a couple weeks prior to the Super Bowl. Thanks to Matt for being here all year. Be sure you're following him on Twitter for outrageous quarterback takes. Follow him on Twitter for the most outrageous quarterback takes you'll ever find at Davidow Matthew. For Matt, for producer Adam, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.